guess we'll kick the mic open too, just so we can start grabbing some of the audio as well to make sure that's working. Got the webcam working as well, in case I ever need to have you guys looking at me. Put name to face. Hi, I'm Matt. I know we've hit 2, but we'll just give it a few more minutes just for people to start filing in. All right, we'll go ahead and get started here. So, let me just make sure the audio is still going good before I start launching into a spiel. Okay. Good afternoon for everyone who is going to be joining live, and I guess welcome to the first of what I'm hoping will be a regular stream of um, recorded live training sessions. I've scheduled several of these out and communicated those out as hopefully many of you have seen. Um, but this is something that I've been wanting to try for a while, and now that I've got the setup right for the streaming to our channel, I'm going to start to hopefully take a little more advantage of this for getting sort of like impromptu and sort of just-in-time type of trainings out to folks. So the first one is going to be just a introduction and rundown of using the events calendar plugin that we have. So just a general rundown of events calendar basics that we have there. There we go. And let's get rid of that. So the events calendar. The events calendar plugin is a plugin that we use within the WiscWeb service that allows you to generate your own events for your um, visitors to your site. What it does is it allows you to create, I guess, quite a number of different types of schedules that you can display to your audience. The easiest and the most obvious is when you create events through the events calendar, you can generate a page that has a monthly view like this right here with this whole mouse over functionality, and we'll get into this stuff in a little bit here. But you can also take those events and do a couple of different things with them, and we'll kind of try to explore some of those things as we go throughout this little class right here. So like using this to build out your events as well. I don't imagine that we're going to take the full 2 hours. I just wanted to give myself enough time in this, just because of the way that the streaming might work and questions that you all might have as we go throughout this process of how do you generate these things. So I'm going to kind of bounce between our WiscWeb live site and my little training site that I have access to right here. So I guess first and foremost, just so everybody who's tuning in right now who hadn't received the communication or maybe didn't see it, was if you want any plugins activated, so if you log into your dashboard area and you don't see your events calendar function over here, you would have to, I suppose, do one of two things. One, check to make sure that you're actually an administrator of your site. You have to be an administrator of your site to get access to the plugins that appear over here. So you'll see things like Gravity Forms, the events calendar, WP Data Tables, Publications is another plugin that we have there. You do have to be an administrator to use those plugins. So you would have to have the updated status. And if you are an administrator and you don't see the events calendar over here, you can request it through our customer support form by going to our site, wiscweb.wisc.edu, go under Help, and click on Customer Support Form. There's an option down there for a plugin activation request, and then in there, Events Calendar is one of those options right there. So you do have to have it activated. If you guys remember, I think at the last brown bag, we made it official that we have turned off all plugins by default, and we only turn on plugins by request. And this is just one of the things that we're looking at to try and improve performance for things that don't need to load on your site if you're not using it. So you have to make sure that you have the plugin active on your site. Once it's active, you will see the events list over here. There are some settings that you can attend to on here. I tend not to mess around with these too much. Mostly if I see some weirdness in my events, I'll go down and check what the time zone is. We struggle with this one because there's some weirdness between the way that the time zone appears on a site versus the way that a time zone appears when events are exported and put into like an iCal or an ICS type file. That's still something that I'm researching. I'm not sure why there is the difference between the two. But you have some general settings there. You have some other display settings. You can enable event views, and what that event view option does is it allows you to change in your default view. It allows you to change between these different views if you want to make that available for folks. You can just have it just be the month setting and allow nothing else. The default view, you can also have a default view. Again, just a lot of different options in here for things to tinker around with if you want to. But like I said, even myself, I don't really mess around with them too much. I kind of leave them as is. So to view all of your events, you can click on Events over here on the left, and you'll see there are a bunch of events that I have created, and I wanted to populate a calendar prior to this training so that I would have things out into the future to tinker around with. To add a new event, it's as simple as everything else that you do in WordPress. You click Add New at the top. And it is similar to any other posts or pages that you work with within WordPress. So you would create an event title. I'm just going to call this Training Test Event 1. You would have a text block area, and you really only get the text editor for this one, the text block I should say. For this one, you can do all the other things that you want to with this. So, for example, if you create an event and this event is for an upcoming conference, an upcoming presentation, an upcoming some sort of thing that you want people to register for, you could have a registration form thrown in to the bottom of this particular event as well. You could have a table in there if you wanted to insert some information that you wanted to make people aware of as you put that information in there. So I'm just going to go grab some placeholder text, some Bob Ross text right in there. And we'll get back to this in a little bit here. But if you scroll down, this is where you get into the actual Events Calendar plugin itself. So this up here is just your typical default post functionality that exists within WordPress. But if you scroll down a little bit, you'll get into the actual Events Calendar portion of it. So you have the start and the end date. So let's say I want this to happen on, let's go Monday, March 2nd. The event will be from 9 until, let's go noon. I could make this an all-day event if I wanted to. I could also schedule multiple events. We'll get back to this in a second because I'll run through how to do that as well. And then you get down into some of the other pieces of information that you might want to enter for a particular event. So the first is a venue, a location. As you enter locations in, you can save them as part of your quote unquote venues that you'll use throughout this. So you can see that in my own testing, I have a couple saved, but maybe I want to do oops, hit enter. It's asking me to create that, so then I would put in this information. The United States, Wisconsin, postal code. I'm going to butcher this, so I'm just going to say 7. I know that's wrong, but um, I'm just throwing it in there because I'm kind of winging this. I could put in a phone number for the venue and a website for the venue if I so desired. These two here, I think by one of the settings that I would probably set, this is something that we ran into an issue with, and I'll briefly recap this and then go back into the events calendar thing. A couple of years ago, Google changed the way that their Google Maps API works. It used to be where you could embed maps into other types of applications, the events calendar plugin being another one of those types of applications, and it would display the map along with a link to the map on the event itself. Google's API changed, and so you're not able to do that unless you create an account with them, and that account does have the potential for a chargeback function. There is a limit. I think it's like 1,000 views before it starts incurring charges. So most sites that exist within the WiscWeb service wouldn't experience that. But this used to be an option that was very beneficial. But since Google went to that model with their code, with their API calls, we tend to recommend turning this function off because it doesn't really display what you want it to display. You could do the map link, and all it would do is it would just create a link to Google Maps that you could click on, and it would open up a Google, it would open up to a Google Maps page for you to see. But that's an option you can take advantage of if you so desire. So that's the venue information. I'm creating a new one that I'll be able to use over there. Organizers, you could either choose from the list that you are using or that you have used in the past, or you could create a brand new one. So I'm going to create Bob Ross. If I had a website for this, I could put that in. I could put in an email address. And I can add multiple organizers. I tend to use organizers as not only the person who becomes kind of like the point of contact, but also the presenters as well. That's a choice that you can make when you're building your event out, is whether or not you want to put presenters as well as organizers, because sometimes the person who's organizing it should be the point of contact instead of the presenter being the point of contact. For my purposes, I'm always point of contact and presenter, or most often point of contact and presenter. So I have my information in there, but that's up to you if you wanted to set that up. Below that, you have an event website URL. So if the event itself had a website that you wanted to point people to, in some cases, this might be a registration website. So I use the registration from the OHR database from their service. That's what I use as the event website, and that URL goes into here. So you can use that if you so desire. And then you can add in some currency cost information. Again, most of the stuff that I do and most of the stuff that we do within WiscWeb for events calendar stuff has no cost to it, so we don't use this, but you do have some information in here that you would add in if you so desire. And then, as always, make sure that you have your excerpt field on. Again, if you need to turn your excerpt field on, you need to go up to Screen Options at the very top right and turn on the excerpt field right up here by clicking in this checkbox there. So the excerpt is, again, a brief summary of something, and again, I'll get back to this because it does have some information there. So this is how you create the event, and when I'm creating this event, there are a few other things that I might want to consider as I'm building it out, and that is, do I want to add tags to this? Tags will come into play later on when you want to maybe display particular events in particular locations. Event categories, same idea as your post categories or your faculty types or publication types. This is a way for you to essentially silo particular events into areas. So I use this for my training page because I use event categories to split these two things up into separate columns. So I have a training event type and an upcoming open labs, an open lab event type in there as well. So you could use event categories over there as well. To create a new event category, you just put one in here, and I'll do testing 1, add it, and I can check it in there if I want to from there. Below there you have some options. You could hide this from event listings, so it might be an event you want to create, but then hide it from the event listings in sort of public view, hide it from your events calendar, and maybe just have the URL that you might share with people there. Sticking it in the month view, what that would do is it would, regardless of what is on a particular date, if you sticky something in the month view, it will always have it be the top item on that particular day. So it will sticky it to the top of there. And then making things a feature event, it adds some styling to it that makes it stand out. So if you have something that you want to stand out from the rest of your events, you could choose that if you so desire. And then you can also set feature images for this particular event if you want to. So if I go in, we'll just use Bucky as that particular image there. And I'll show you what some of the drawbacks are for that potentially as well. So once I have all of that information set, I can publish this event by clicking on Publish over here on the right. And wait, and wait, and wait, and wait, and wait. I guess I'll tell all of you, those of you who are viewing this live, we did have the slowness this morning and potentially some downtime there. We're still looking into that. We have an idea of what happened, but we'll communicate out once we have a clear handle on what it was and I guess thoughts moving forward. So just a brief side right there. Okay, so the event has published. I can view the event by clicking on View Event right there to pop out to it. So there is my event title. There is the date and time for it. Here is the drawback of using a featured image is the featured image always goes at the top of the event. And as you can see, this Bucky image I used is huge. So this isn't an ideal featured image. I might want to edit this down to make it a more, event post friendly type of image. And then here's the information below. There's some other things in here, like this is our social share plugin that we have. So, you could, for those of you who wanted to use Facebook and Twitter to kind of increase social media presence, you could use these to share them out. Here's the venue information. There's that Google Map link, details, the organizer, and the website for it right there. And then you can see the way that it builds it out is it does have these previous and next event values showing up there. So that's great. That creates the event. There's nothing really too exciting about that. Once I'm out in the event, remember, once you're logged in and you have this black bar up here, you can click on Edit Event to get back into a particular event. So now that I've created an event, and you will be creating multiple events, and we'll come back around to creating some recurring events in a second here, where do these events go? Well, similar to posts, similar to publications, similar to a lot of things that you create within WordPress and within the WiscWeb service, these events get created and saved into the database, essentially. They get saved into the events calendar database. And how you display them is up to you in a few ways, but the one default way that you can display your events is you have to have a page that is titled Events. So if I click Pages and Add New, and I just title it Events, and I don't have to do anything else. I just click Publish. It will publish it, and then once I view the page, the Events Calendar plugin automatically consumes a page that is titled Events. So you can see up here, the permalink is Events. This is my Events page. The Events Calendar plugin is automatically consuming this functionality. And so now you can see I have this Events page with the calendar up, and now we can start to see the way that these events are displaying. So if I go out, there is the one that I just created, testing event 1. You mouse over it, you can kind of see the featured image that I put into there, as well as starting to see some of the text right here. So let's talk a little bit more about the things that you see when you are looking at the event. So if I go back into my dashboard, if I just click on the title up here and go back to events, let's go back and grab that one that I just created right there. So one of the things that you'll notice when you are, I'm going to open up a new tab just so we can kind of take a look at this and I can show you this in real time. One of the things that you'll notice is when you mouse over, the text that shows up here defaults to the text that you put into your text area up here. And so similar to pages, similar to posts, similar to a lot of things that we've talked about in training, for those of you who have gone through the training with me, is sometimes the stuff that goes into the body of a page, a post, an event, and what we're talking about right now, isn't the most ideal thing that you want to display as the quote-unquote preview. So what you can do is you can also use the excerpt field to just say, please come join us on Monday, March 2nd for a very good time. And I will update that value there. I haven't tested this before with the featured image, so we're going to do a little bit of learn by doing together right now. So it updated. I'm going to go back out here and just refresh this page. And what you'll see is, yeah, so that doesn't work ideally now that I'm seeing the featured image there, because it's shortening the text area or the display area there as well. So again, some things to think about as you're building your page or building your events out and trying to use some of these things is, one, I mean, just take a look at what happens with the featured image there. Come here, there you go. And then two, again, remember, this might not be what you want to display here when somebody mouses over it. This might just be what you want to say. So again, that's sort of the stuff to think about as you're building out your your events in particular there. I'll kind of pause here for just a second and take a drink whilst seeing if you guys have any questions in general about just single event creations. Drink taken, so I'll just I asked that question. If you have questions, go ahead and chat them into there, and I'll get back to them as I can. I have a new setup here. It's usually when I'm doing the brown bag, I only have one screen. I have my laptop, and that's it. I now have two screens to run this, so I'm able to take a look at the chat and take a look at things as they're happening, which is very nice for me as I'm the one running the stream as well. So if you have questions, please throw them into there, and I'll try to answer them as best I can. So let's talk a little bit about recurring events now, just so we can get out of creating events and move into the actual conversation of displaying events. So to create recurring events, we will again click Add New to create a new event. And again, similar to what we already done, here is let's see, monthly. Actually, we have, let's see, daily stand-up. We have a daily stand-up on the team. Take this time to talk about what, or type and talk at the same time, my apologies. All right, so just that's it. We have our daily stand-ups. We chat about the things that we did, the things that we're going to be doing, and anything that might be in the way of getting said things done. Um, so today is the 25th, so I'll start it tomorrow, the 26th. We do this every day from 10 to approximately 10:15. So I'll just type in 10:15 in there. So now to create an event series, to create recurring events, I will click Schedule Multiple Events there. For this one, it is daily. It occurs every day, one daily, at the same time at 10. And I can set an ending date if I so desire. So, why don't I go out to, let's say, May 31st of 2021. I can add more of these recurrences if I want to. So, it might happen, we might have a weekly meeting, but then it might also become a daily meeting at a future time or something of that nature. You can add exclusions in there as well. So, obviously, we wouldn't meet on, say, July 4th, which is a Saturday this year, so that's a terrible example. So let's say July 3rd we wouldn't meet because we'll be taking that day off, and then add another exclusion for let's see, there, we'll put that one in more today. So you can add those exclusions in there as well. You can give this recurrence a description if you'd like. I tend to leave that alone. You can set a venue if you want to, organizer, all that stuff. No one's really the organizer. We just do it. Our venue is usually whomever's office is open at the time when we're all wandering around trying to find a spot to chat. I might want to create a category that's just called stand up because I might want to add this as my as my category to put in a particular location, and then I'll leave everything else as is, and I will click publish. So recurring events do take a little bit of time to publish because it is adding, X number of events into the future. So what you'll see is when your first ones publish, you'll get a little message here that says, don't worry, you can safely navigate away. It's happening in the background. So essentially what I can do now is I can refresh, and now you'll see the daily stand-ups are in there. So now you'll see like it hadn't quite it had quite processed through to the middle of March right here. So um, that's that there. So that's how you create recurring events. You can edit single events. You can edit the events themselves. Um, so similar to what we've already done with that purpose there. So, okay, so we have now created events. We've created recurring events. So now it's time to start talking about how do you get all of these events to start displaying on your site in the various different ways that you can. So what we're going to do is we're going to go out and create a page. And I'm just going to create a new page, and I am going to call it, let's just say these are my events. So similar to other plugins that we have, one of the things that you have to be aware of is when you are using this content that you have created, plugins use a function called shortcodes to generate those values to appear on page when you are wanting them to display. The events calendar is a bit confusing when it comes to the shortcodes that you should be using. So there are a few sites that I have been using to essentially help me understand what shortcodes to use. And I will just quickly bounce out to our knowledge base. And the fifth most frequently visited document for us is using the events calendar plugin. And in there is to view a list of various shortcodes, you can visit this page. So this page is linked. And here are some of the various ways that you can display. This is the one that I use primarily when I am doing this. But we'll see in a second here there are a few other options there. So honestly, the most straightforward way to display your events is to use the shortcode open bracket tribe_events and then close the bracket. And this is the one that actually displays that monthly view. So if I publish this and then bounce out and view this page, I'm going to leave this page open because I'm going to be editing it and refreshing it. So I'm just going to bounce over to here. So that tribe_events, that is what generates this view right here. So if I wanted to show the full calendar on another page, I could if I wanted to. I can also take this tribe events and I can change that view if I so desire by clicking on, by typing in view equals, and then I'm going to say list because that's the value that I want to put into there. But if I just click update now, and wait, and wait, and wait, and wait, and wait. All right, it refreshed. I will come over to here and I will refresh this page. And what you'll see is it now changes to this list view. And what you'll notice is in this list view, you do get your brief pieces of information. And again, here's one that is a little bit another situation where I'm not sure that featured events or featured images would work best if you're not using them across the board. that works there. I'm going to test something out because I'm curious if it will work. So count equals 5. I just want to test this out if I can limit how many. By default, it shows the next 10 events upcoming. So that might not be ideal either for what you're wanting to do. So I'm wondering if I can limit it by putting in a count value in there. Undo, undo. Oh, get that out of there. Thank you. So page was updated. Let's refresh this page. Nope, that doesn't allow you. There is no way to limit it. I was just poking at that. I was just trying to see if there was a way to do that. So there is no default way to limit that list view there. But this is a nice list view if you wanted to have the ability to just kind of show an upcoming events list with the information that you want to put into the excerpt or into the some of the text block area there. So I like this view. I don't use it, but I do like it. I don't have any events that I would really have a need to use this type of thing for. Most of mine are straightforward, and I like to keep things as tight as possible within my pages. So this works well. One of the things that you'll notice as well is up here at the top, you get this filter bar. The filter bar does not play all that nice with on-page views as opposed to the way that it looks on the events page itself. I'm not really sure why. We haven't found why the styling happens differently on page versus the events page. But that's just something to be aware of. And because it bugs me, you do have a short code that you can put in. That is tribe-bar equals false. This value up here is the tribe bar. And if I click update, Tribe is the company that makes the events calendar plugin, so that's why they title things the way they do. So that's why I'm tribe underscore events, tribe bar equals false. That's the way that works. That's why that works the way that it works. Okay, so it updated. Let me refresh this page. And there you go. Tribe bar is gone, and now I just see the next 10 events coming up. So that's one way you can do that. Let me just bounce out here real quick just to grab another one of these shortcode sites that I use. Not this one. Here we go. So you can see there are some different ways that you can display this. This is another one that people tend to take advantage of, which is the week view. So if I change this up to view equals week, I can update it. Bum, 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 bum. All right, refresh. And so that looks pretty rough. That is displayed a little weird. So I wonder if I can change that value. Curious if that's my training site, if that causes that issue. Please hold whilst I try to remove hi from my face. So I'm in my I'm in the actual WiscWeb service site right now. I do have a calendar test page because I was testing some things out live as well. We'll get to this in a second because that might fix that issue there. So this is the page that I have. I have it set to private so that no one can actually see it, nor can anybody actually, nor can it be picked up by Google. So I just do this so that I have some testing of my own to do. So yeah, so it's doing it in production. So again, this is a styling thing that is a little weird. We'll get around to this one right here because this is the one that actually does work. So if I bounce over to here, one of the things you'll note out of this one is you have a few different ways to view this without using the tribe underscore events and then the view option. We have we have what's called Events Calendar Pro, and so some of the short codes work for Events Calendar function, and then we also have the Events Calendar Pro function as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this tribe this week one instead. So tribe underscore this underscore week. All right, it is updated. I shall refresh. And so here is a nice week view that you can take advantage of if you want to. So this one, it only gives, you'll see it's grayed out the day that is past, blue is the day that's active, and then the dark gray is upcoming. And you can, you can see that you don't have the mouse over functions, and it does show Saturdays and Sundays as well in there. But this is a nice view to take advantage of as well. I don't use this because I use the other one, which is the tribe events list, which I'm going to show you next. But this is another view that I've seen a number of people take advantage of. If we just kind of go back to this this KB doc, or I'm sorry, yeah, the KB doc here, you can bounce down and you can see if you have a number of events that happen on a particular day, you do have the ability to limit what you see by putting in this count equals sign. You can also do a layout option if you want. So instead of it being this horizontal view, we could try to put in the layout of the vertical view. So let's give that a try. So layout equals vertical. All right, and refresh. And so just a vertical view. Your preference on what you would want to use there. There is another page that has more of the shortcode options available. So if we go out to tribe this week, you can actually have a particular week that you want to display. If you wanted to, you can do that via this shortcode right here, start underscore date. You can have it look a week ahead, so you could instead have it offset to next week's or several weeks from now. This is a nice one because we don't do anything on weekends, so I might want to do this hide underscore weekends. Oops. Paste this text. Update. And I will refresh here. And there you see, got rid of the Saturday and Sunday, so I think that's pretty good there. All right, we'll give the stream a second to catch up and just see if you guys have any questions in relation to again creating events or some of the first views that we've used, which is just the tribe events and then the tribe um, list view as well there. So ask questions now if you have them. Okay, so I will move on from that now, and instead of the tribe this week, I am instead going to use the one that I use the most within my site, within the WiscWeb site, which is the tribe, or I'm sorry, which is that list view that you see out here on our main page, this particular view right here. And so that one is this value right here, which is the tribe events list. So I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to take this out. And what I'm doing is I'm pasting as text. You want to make sure that you are pasting as text when you put these in. Just be aware that when you're copying and pasting from something from another website, be sure to paste as text so that it doesn't bring in any of the additional formatting that occurs. Because if I just paste it normally here, you'll notice that it adds a link into there, and I don't want it to do that. I just want it to have just the text that I'm bringing in there. So once I have that tribe events list in there, I can click on update. And wait for it to go, and I'm going to type in the chat. Just wanted to post that in. Oh, Ellen, it's showing up blurry, huh? Yeah, that's kind of weird. I'm seeing that as well. Not sure why. A brief second here as I try to figure out why this is changing the way it is. I'm not certain why it's showing up blurry. I can't see why that's happening. So I'm going to have to go, yeah, there isn't, sorry, Ellen, there isn't an easy fix, so I'll just have to make sure that I am pointing out what I'm saying as I am going through this process. So thank you for pointing that out, though. So now that I need to be more attentive to that. Okay, so tribe events list. Make sure that you update it, and then when you click on over to your updated page. Sorry for that segue. Wait for that to refresh. It refreshed, so now I will refresh my page there. That is how this view comes up. And so this view gets a little weird looking when you're in the the one column layout there. But this is what you see with that tribe events list. And again, this is what I use when I'm putting my events on my pages. It's not ideal for the one part that I wish it did include, which is the description, the including of the excerpt right here. But for the most part, it does allow for a condensed list on a specific page, like what we use on the WiscWeb page right here. It keeps it nice and condensed for the purposes of what I use it for. Now, again, if you remember the list view, your default is 10, but you might not want to show just 10 values there. You might want to show more, or you might want to show less. So what you can do is you can put in, after that tribe events list, you could put in limit equals, and then in quotes, a number that you want to use there. So I'm gonna cut it down to 4, because again, in relation to how I use it, I want it to be um, less. I want it to be a smaller um, list there. So I will put in limit equals 4, and I will update it. And then it refreshed, so I'm going to go over here and refresh. And there you'll see, that is how you limit the values that you have on a particular list that you want to show. So this is something that I use a lot, because with brown bags, I'm always scheduling brown bags, a month in advance or so. And when we put the brown bags on this page, I only want to show the next upcoming 5. And same with trainings. When I do have a number of trainings scheduled out ahead, I don't want 15, or I don't want 4 here while I have the next 15 or so brown or open labs. I'm sorry, I keep saying brown bags. The next open labs, I don't want 15 here, because it will throw off the weirdness of these two columns. So if I keep it limited to both 5, and in some cases maybe just 4, um, you know, you can really tighten up what you're showing on a particular page. And again, content strategy there. One of the ways that I have used this is I have used the limiting part to sort of help you guys learn that, you as my audience, you all as my audience, learn that there is a list there, and it's short, sweet, and to the point, and you look and you can see, oh, trainings are here, open labs are here. We're going to talk about how to split these two up in a second here. But one thing that I can see already that would throw me off, that's throwing me off right now, is I need to tighten up my text up here. But that's how you can limit what you see on that particular page there. Now we can talk a little bit about what it is that you can do to limit even more the types of events that you're showing by using those event categories that you had created earlier. So again, if we kind of take a look down here, the filtering is what it's referred to as, is I can now even more so show things like only featured events, and then also I can show a particular category. So if I just grab the category equals, since I know what I have here, oops, no, paste this text, and then in this case, I am going to go out and look at what my categories are. So let's say if I look at this particular event, I don't remember off the top of my head what I've categorized some of these events are. So let's go to events and then event categories over here on the left. And so I have several in here. Some of them have been used in the past for various things. But you can see here I have 61 events that are for the stand-up category. I have 3 events that are for the testing category, and 1 event for the testing 1 category. So if I just copy this particular slug right here, if I wanted the new worker foundation, I would copy that particular slug. I'm only going to grab the testing one and put that into my category equals quotation mark, and then close the quotation mark right there. Now the limit isn't going to matter much because I saw that I have 3 events in there, but if I update, all right, and then just get this guy back, refresh. Here are those 3 that are specific to that particular category. So if I look at this one, there's that event category right there, testing. So this is something that I have worked with a number of people on for, you have faculty meetings, you have weekly student engagements where there's kind of like roundtable type things. Um, you have monthly monthly meeting reminders for other types of things. So I work with people to create these categories, and then on particular pages, you can use those categories to show just that particular value. So if we're looking at, so this is our support open labs page. If I edit this page here, and I scroll down just a little bit, that's how I limit what I'm showing on that particular page by using those categories. I find the categories, again, for my purposes, I find the categories to be just so very helpful because in line with the limiting value, there's also the I value. Everybody who comes to my training page knows I look down here for open labs. I look down here for upcoming trainings. And I have taught you as my audience that that's where your eyes should go for those types of things. So as you're building out your pages and as you're updating your pages and you want to start using these events calendars, think of it as not just not just the encompassing amount of content that you want to put onto a particular page, but also how do you want to lay that content out so that you kind of create familiarity and you connect it with your audience so that they learn what to expect when they go throughout your pages or when they go to a particular page. So that type of thing, the event categories will really help out with that functionality as well. A couple of other things that are down here as well. You'll notice you do have the ability to show particular things if you want to. So for example, if I really wanted to show myself um, for a particular event, let me edit this page. So I will edit my actual live WiscWeb page. And scroll on down to those particular text blocks. I could use I could say organizer equals yes. Okay, so once that's done, I can bounce back out to view the page. So none of these have an organizer when I created them, but you can see this I don't want out there. But you can put your organizer. So you can put that information out there if you want to for particular types of events where you might want the quote unquote presenter, you might want their information to be available for people to see who the particular person is. Because if I click on this name, this person has information in there, and I could actually go back and take a look at a particular organizer if I wanted to. So if I go to events and organizers, I could edit this person, and I could even put in more information about this particular person. I could put in there, who I am, what I do, how long have I worked here, what things do I teach, that kind of stuff. So I could add more information about a particular organizer if I wanted to, which is something that you might want to do for some of your presenters there. I'll go down and take a quick look at my notes. Let's see. You could also limit venue. So you can see one of the options that you have available to you for filtering is venue. You could show those details if you wanted to. You can also filter by those venues as well. Let me go out to my. I'm starting to do what I always joke about in my trainings is the people with too many tabs open. I'm starting to get out to that point. For example, if I'm going to open up my pages, but if I look at my venues and look at my venue slugs, so how you view a venue slug is you have to go into it, and your venue slug is this value that shows right here. Yep. There we go. And so now if I go back to my calendar test page here, so now I'm looking at this in the production area. I can say, hey, come here. Let me grab the right short code. I can do tribe underscore featured underscore venue and then put the slug in there and then limit it as well. Which is this guy right here, the featured venue short code. And it updated. So now I can view this page. And it will show you, again, this is a styling thing that bothers me, but it will show me, I wish this stood out more than the events themselves did, but it'll show you what venue and then upcoming events in that particular venue. So again, you have this ability to, if you want to limit or coordinate the types of things you show in various areas on your site. The freshest of the examples that I have are when we had a bunch of sites come in from over in the LNS area, and they had a number of, they'd have faculty meetings, they would have student roundtables, they would have advising hours and things like that. You might have different pages for those types of information. And on those pages, you might want to use some of these slugs or some of these shortcodes to limit what appears on that page to help break up some of that information. Or if you have a room that people would contact you to get information on, you might have a shortcode out there that shows what the availability of that room is coming up. For people who, there are obviously other calendar options that exist out there for Office 365, obviously, and for those of you who do use Google Calendar. But this is just one of the things that you can do with Events Calendar as well to do some of that stuff. The last thing I want to touch on very specifically out of the shortcode area and then just kind of open it up to questions and tinkering, is you can also show a single event on a particular page if you wanted to highlight something that you wanted to stand out. So I have that. I think that was on um, the previous shortcode one that I put up there. So let me grab this real quick. And again, most of this stuff, if you go to theeventscalendar.com and you search their knowledge base, you'll be able to find a lot of what I'm showing you right here. But essentially, here is the code that you want to put in to show, the shortcode that you want to put in to show a particular um, event, not just all events or not just a category of events, just one particular event that you might want to highlight that's coming up. So it is this value right here, which is the tribe event inline. And you see, it's very important to note that you'll see all three of these things are needed for that. The tribe underscore event underscore inline ID equals and all that stuff there. So I will bring that over to my test page and I will paste that in. So we'll see what this does in a second. It's going to automatically pull the value into there. But this is the tricky one right here. How do you find the event ID for displaying that one singular event? And this one is tricky because of the fact that you have to understand how WordPress works. When it creates these posts, it gives them an ID value. And so how you would go and find a particular value for your events is you would, I'm going to open up my events in a new tab up here because I don't want to lose what I have right here. But if you were to go in and look at a particular event, I don't want to do that part there. So why don't I bounce out to my calendar proper? Let's see if I can grab it this way. Recurring events are the tricky ones. Nah, I'm gonna go grab that individual one. Recurring ones are the tricky ones, and I don't want to tinker around with that too much. But let's go over to that March 2nd event that I did create. So this one right here, which was that singular event that I put out there. If I edit this particular event, the way that WordPress works is when you're editing an event, you will see this value up here that says post equals. And that equal sign, the number after that equal sign, is the ID value that you would need to use for this particular event. So if I grab that 4-digit value there and put this here and update it, now I will, get over here, there you go. So that's what it does. It doesn't actually link to it, and we're going to get into that in a second, but it's just, it lists that particular event right there. So now we can get into some of these other values that you can show. And so down here you'll see title linked. So I'd have to add that particular information right there in that same curly braces. But again, notice it's not pulling in any of the excerpt information or anything like that. It's just, it's only pulling in the title. And there it is. It's now linked. I can click on it, but Still nothing else. The nice thing about this is you are given a little bit of control over some of the things that you can do as you go down further into this one. You can see there's you can add a thumbnail if there was a thumbnail value, a featured image value in there. The linked title, you can actually put in the time, and bump it I can grab the excerpt for it if I so desire. So I'm going to grab that one. And actually, let's update this. Oh, I did put in the excerpt for that one there, so we're good there. All right, so I'm going to update. And now there's the excerpt. So this works great if you have an event that you really want to highlight. And I know we have a number of folks where you will do 2-day, 3-day conferences, workshops, things of that nature. This might be a nice way to, maybe display things in like a 3-column layout, because if you see here, you're given a little bit of flexibility. So um, I could put right here Monday, make it stand out a little bit right there. And really get into it. Now that you'll struggle with this part because this is the default for headings. They have that additional space in there by default. But you can see how you could split that up. I might, if I did a 3-column layout, I'd have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and tinker around with some of those events on a particular day, and kind of lay things out that way. This would be a way for you to put up like a schedule, if you wanted to. It's a little labor intensive, but at the same time, you're given a little bit of flexibility there with how you might want to display those things on a particular page, which is, I know, something that for workshops and various events, um, some groups have done in the past. So I'm going to hold there, and again, let the stream catch up. But any questions on the events calendar in general, the events calendar short codes, how you might want to use it, things of that nature? Go ahead and post those as you see fit, and I will hold there for a little bit now just to let the stream catch up and let these questions get asked. So we'll hold right there. I'm kind of observing the stream at the same time as um, I'm presenting, and it's like a minute or so behind where I am live. So it's not sure why that is. I have it set to low latency, so it's supposed to be real time. I might have to chat with Scott to see if there's something we can do to improve the visual quality, because I do see the blurriness that you were pointing out, Ellen, and I think that might be something on the software that I'm using to generate the stream. But at the same time, the latency part of it as well. So, but here we are. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. I will, trying to think of the best way to communicate these links out. I might just update. I think what I'll do is I will update our knowledge base document, and I will make sure that I have the various events calendar KB links. I will put them into the actual knowledge base document down below, so that you guys can see some of these values there. But we'll go ahead and call it there. So just over an hour. But again, I just wanted to introduce what the events calendar is, how you can use it, some of the different ways to think about using it, some of the different opportunities that you might have to use it. But I will put this on. I'll pause myself right now and let the stream and the questions catch up as they can. But that really is it. So thank you all for um, attending and listening in on this. If you have any questions, I'm about to bring up my contact information here real quick, since I did leave myself on here. But most of you know how to get in touch with me because you get the emails from me. But matt.goins at wisc.edu, that's how you can get in touch with me. If after the fact you guys have some questions, please don't hesitate to drop me a line. And I'd be more than happy to set up either a time with the Open Labs coming up. Really, the Open Labs are the best time that we can sit and chat to show things. Otherwise, we can set up a Google Meet, and I can chat with you that way, and we can screen share to kind of see what everybody is doing. Or I'm more than happy to hit the road and come chat with you in your office as well. So just reach out to me and let me know what you might need and how you might or how I might best meet that need. So um, I'll put the stream on hold there. Thank you all for attending, and I will talk to you all hopefully Thursday for the gravity forms training.